Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. Intesar-e-Wilayat Ch-5. Address number 5. Wilaya of the Age. O supporters of Wali-ul-Asr, as it has already been mentioned that Karbala has got two aspects. One is outward or external Karbala, which is subject to time and space and is didactic in its nature. And second is intrinsic or spiritual Karbala, which is universal and based on the trial. In fact, Karbala serves as a syllabus for us, the study of which offers a complete code of life for humanity till the advent of Wali-ul-Asr, because all the religious principles have been minutely unfolded in Karbala. Friends, it should be kept in mind that all those belonging to the Yazidi school of thought, either physically present in the field of Karbala or are the damned Yazidi of the present age, know very well that the essence of religion is only one. It is undeniable fact that a tree possesses a single central root and all other secondary roots emanate from it and strengthen the tree and provide food to it. The principle of working behind this process is that all the secondary roots provide nourishment to the single central root, which provides the accumulated nourishment of all the roots including its own to the tree, which finally ensures the survival of the tree. Similarly, Wali-ul-Asr serves as a single central root of the tree of faith. The rest of the principles maintain the faith with the mediation of the Wali-ul-Asr. This principle is universal and is not subject to any change. Even the enemy admits that this principle is not liable to change. Today, Shiites are being branded as infidels. The rest of the world is passively witnessing and listening to it, but nobody dares say to them that the denier of the rules of faith is called infidel, according to the unchallenged written document of all the schools of thought and religions in the sphere of Islam. If one inquires them about the rules of faith, they would simply answer that these are three in number, that is, monotheism, prophethood, and the day of judgment. If we again ask them which one of the above-mentioned rules of faith is being negated by the Shiites, they would readily answer that Shiites are the denier of the companions of the Holy Prophet. If they are asked if Shiites are the denier of all the companions of the Holy Prophet, they would confirm that it is not so. Then pose another question: if faith in the companions of the Holy Prophet is included in the rules of faith, certainly their answer would be negative. If faith in the companions of the Holy Prophet is not a part of the rules of faith, how can Shiites be branded as infidels? In spite of all this, they would insist on declaring Shiites infidel as they are deniers of the companions of the Holy Prophet, completely irrespective of the fact that it's not a part of the rule of faith. All the damned followers of accursed Yazid know this fact very well, that there is a single rule, the denier of which cannot be called a Muslim. Similarly, ours are not several rules of faith. The rule of faith remains single, like the central single root of a tree. We are fortunate enough to receive this very message from the book of Karbala, that the rule of faith remains single. Now the question arises, what is the rule of faith? The simple and straightforward answer is that Wali-ul-Asr is the single reality of faith. He is, in fact, the identity of the man and his faith. For example, a man's identity is his father, who remains single, not two. More accurately, we mention the name of our father for identity when applying for the identity card, because in the application form, there may be more than one column for the kids of a father. But there cannot be more than one column for the father. Again, it is true that a man's identity is his immediate father. Although we know that all the human beings are the children of Hazrat Adam, but we cannot say that in the identity card it is written as Abdullah, son of Adam. Man's lineage is very lengthy, but here immediate identity cannot be parental grandfather, though he can be more respectable than his own father. Man's immediate identity is his father. Even if we hear the calling outside the courts, the identity of a person would be definitely his immediate father. Similarly, in the court of the hereafter, a man's identity would be his Wali-ul-Asr. That's why it is said, everybody would be called by the name of his Wali-ul-Asr because he is his real identity. Great mystics are quite peculiar and say that the rule of faith is a single one. Allah is one and not more than one. Similarly, the father remains a single one. A baby with the claim of more than one father is called illegitimate. A wife can have only one husband, and a woman having more than one husband is called a prostitute. A religious guide, murshid, is also a single one. A person having more than one religious guide, murshid, is like a son having more than one father. And above all, undoubtedly, Wali-ul-Asr is a single one who is the Imam of the age. He is the essence of religion, the spiritual father, and the virtual leader. Sayyid Mehdi, Biharul Ulum, Ocean of Knowledge, is one of our most sacred religious scholars. He has narrated a very famous incident. During his time, an Iranian mendicant came Najaf-e-Ashraf. Sayyid Mehdi came to know that the mendicant has a wavering faith. He planned to correct the faith of that mendicant and invited him to dinner. After having taken a meal, he asked the mendicant, "How many rules of faith are there?" Mendicant answered, "There is only one rule of faith." Sayyid Mehdi repeated his question but got the same answer from the mendicant. Sayyid Mehdi explained to the mendicant, "Look, there are 5 rules of faith." On hearing this, the mendicant shuddered and asked in amazement that if he believed in the 5 rules of faith. Sayyid Mehdi answered in positive, insisting on the 5 rules of faith. The mendicant felt sorry for this and insisted on believing in a single rule of faith. He further says, "Belief in only one rule of faith has rendered me to a skeleton sans flesh. Only bones and leather are left on my body. If you believe in 5 rules of faith, but still are plump and healthy, full of flesh and blood, what is this?" On hearing this, Sayyid Mehdi inquired about that single rule of faith. The mendicant answered that his single rule of faith was to sacrifice each and everything for the sake of his Wali-ul-Asr. In fact, Wali-ul-Asr is in reality the single rule of faith. Friends, this is an undeniable fact that Wali-ul-Asr is a single rule of faith. And whosoever is found guilty of a slight lapse in belief and viewpoint or intentions and actions regarding his Wali-ul-Asr will be taken as the brother of the accursed Umar ibn Sa'd. This kind of unwavering faith has been taught to us from the book of Karbala. In the book of Karbala, we find the mention of 2 persons who belong to the eastern tribe. This eastern tribe is the branch of Hamdan. More accurately, it can be explained like this: the tribe Barir bin Khuzair Hamdani belonged to was the consequential branch of this eastern tribe. The 2 members of this tribe were Hazrat Yazid bin Hussain Mashriqi and the accursed Zahak bin Abdullah Mashriqi. The firm faith that the rule of faith is one has been displayed by Hazrat Ibn Hussain Mashriqi. But the question arises, when did he affirm his belief in a single rule of faith? On the day of the 7th Muharram, 61 AH, the supply of water was cut off for the Karwan of Karbala. On the 8th of Muharram, Karbala asked Yazid bin Hussein Mashriqi to negotiate with Ibn Sa'd, the damned one, that to deprive a Muslim or non-Muslim of water was strictly prohibited in Islam. Then why did he practice that prohibited act? Hazrat Yazid bin Hussein Mashriqi was the first person who went to Ibn Sa'd, the damned one, to have a dialogue over the issue of banned water. As he approached the tent of the accursed Ibn Sa'd, that damned one welcomed Yazid bin Hussein with reverence, as he was considered the well-off person of his tribe. But Yazid bin Hussein neither expressed his salutation nor shook his hand with Ibn Sa'd. Ibn Sa'd inquired about his cold behavior by calling him his Mashriqi brother, saying that both their tribes are allies. Ibn Sa'd further asked if Mashriqi did not consider him a Muslim. On hearing this, Mashriqi remained passive. Again Ibn Sa'd said to Mashriqi, "O my Mashriqi brother, you know very well that I bear witness to the oneness of God, to the prophethood. I offer my prayers 5 times a day and have faith in the day of judgment. Even then, you treated me like a non-Muslim and did not greet me." On hearing this, Yazid bin Hussein Mashriqi replied, "O miserable, in spite of having enmity with the son of the Holy Prophet, you still hope that your faith in the oneness of God and prophethood may be acceptable? A person's faith in the oneness of God and prophethood can never be acceptable if he opposes the Imam of the age." Yazid bin Hussein further said to Ibn Sa'd, "O miserable, you see that both Jews and Nasara are drinking water from the Euphrates River and Al-Kama Canal, but you have cruelly banned the supply of water to the sacred son and the sacred progenies of the Holy Prophet. And you are piling up your wrongdoings by still considering yourself a Muslim?" Ibn Sa'd replied that he could understand that enmity with the sacred family would result in his eternal damnation, even if he had a firm belief in the oneness of God and the prophethood. But he was irresistibly tempted to possess the kingdom of Ray or Tehran, being offered to him by Ibn Ziyad, the damned one. That's why he decided to penance for his misdeed, but only after committing that sin. In this way, he would be able to secure both the kingdom of Ray and his faith in Islam. Ibn Hasin asked if he was sure that he would be granted forgiveness, while it has been ordained that to commit a sin with the intention of repentance and forgiveness is to affront and underestimate God. It means to commit a sin and affront God for the sake of some worldly possession with the intention of repenting only afterwards. This wicked intention is even worse than the sin itself. Such a type of penance is entirely out of question. Ibn Hussein further said to Ibn Sa'd, "You want to martyr the son of the Holy Prophet and you will penance afterwards? I curse you and your religion." After saying this, he came back and he sacrificed his life in the Nusra of Karbala before Zohar prayers. Here Ibn Hussein has recounted that belief in the oneness of God and prophethood can never be profitable until it is associated with the unprecedented emperor of the age. Allama Haj Mirza Abu al-Hasan says in Nurul Anwar that the purpose of the declaration of Wilaya was, Wilaya of the Wali of the age is the soul of prophethood. That's why without faith in the Wilaya of the Wali-ul-Asr, faith in prophethood is useless. That's why it said, "O Amir al-Mu'mineen, you have the same place for me as the soul has for the body." Allama Mirza again says, This very relevant wilaya is also embedded in the sacred being of our Emperor of the Prophets. Not only that, but it is also embedded in all the pure beings of sacred guardians and the sacred queen of all the worlds. It means that to negate any one of them is the negation of all of them, and only the faith in Wali-ul-Asr can benefit the faith in all the sacred innocent beings, that is, the infallibles or Masumeen. This universal lesson has been taught in the book of Karbala, that the rule of faith is only a single one, that is, faith in Wali-ul-Asr. I have already mentioned that in the book of Karbala, we find the commemoration of two persons from the Mashriqi tribe. Let's also mention the second person because they are two different characters from the same tribe and both of them teach us a lot. Karim-e-Karbala reached Rahimiyya. The sacred caravan reached there at noon and stayed there till 4 or 5 o'clock in the evening. Here the incident of Ubaidullah ibn Hur Jafar mentioned earlier occurred. At this point, many Ansar came out of Kufa and joined this sacred caravan and submitted to Karim-e-Karbala that they had witnessed the Lashkar of Ibn Sa'd, the damned one, advancing in the same direction and would reach there till evening. They further submitted that it would be better for them to move from there and to stay at the town of Baza Bani Yarbu, which was situated at a little distance towards the north. Karim-e-Karbala also thought it appropriate and at once ordered to pack up the tents and move from there. Tents were plowed hurriedly, and veiled women embedded in monotheism and prophethood were assisted to board on the camels, and the travel started towards the north and ended in the town of Baza Bani Yarbu. Here, it is necessary to explain that near Kufa there were two towns with the same name called Baza. One town was situated towards the south of Kufa, which was called Baza. But for the sake of identification, the names of the tribes inhabited there were called out. This very town was known Baza bin Aban bin Dharam, and it was very near to Kufa if coming from Qadsiya to Kufa. You might have heard the name of the poet called Farzok, who also belonged to this town called Baza bin Aban bin Dharam. The other town was located northwest of Kufa, which was called Baza Bani Yarbu. Once the people of Yarbu tribe used to live in this town and stopped giving zakat by refusing to admit the first so-called caliph during his period. They used to say that they had heard the declaration of Ghadir and the righteous and bila fasl, or without any distance or discontinuity, the caliph is only Amir al-Mu'mineen, that is Amir-e-Kainat. That's why it was unjust to give zakat to other than the righteous caliph. During the reign of the first caliph, the first battle, entitled as Tarkin Zakat, or those who refused to pay zakat to the so-called first caliph, was fought among the Muslims, and the great knight and the companion of the Holy Prophet named Malik bin Nawira was martyred at the hands of Khalid bin Walid. Not only that, but he was also guilty of usurping and abusing the wife of the martyred Malik bin Nawira. Orders were also released to prosecute Khalid bin Walid, and the second caliph was at the forefront of the movement of getting Khalid bin Walid prosecuted, but at the 11th hour he was rescued by the first caliph. This very city also witnessed the massacre of Shiites for the first time. One more important thing is that the Reverend Mother of Hazrat Muhammad bin Hanafiya also belonged to this city. And after that very first battle fought among the Muslims, she was in fact the princess of Jafar bin Qais bin Salma bin Abdullah bin Taghlaba bin Al-Dawla bin Hanafiya bin Lajim. She was called Hanafiya due to her affinity with Hanafiya bin Lajim. This very town was dominated and attached with her forefather Yarbu bin Taghlaba. That's why this town was called Baza Bani Yarbu. Some people from the race of Hanafiya bin Taghlib were called Bani Yarbu, and some others were called Bani Hanafiya. And all the believers must always remember that the name of Bani Hanafiya, because Hazrat Imam Zainul Abidin said that their uncle Abu al-Fazl's Kirtgar-e-Wafa blood was on the neck of Bani Hanafiya, the damned one. Every believer must remember it, that at the time of arrival of the Emperor of the age, and must invoke him to prefer to take revenge on Bani Hanafiya, the damned one. Coming back to the main topic under discussion, I was telling you that as Karim-e-Karbala reached that point, two incidents occurred there. Here, I would narrate one of them. When the tents were being fixed in that locality, a very limited caravan coming from Atshan had already stayed there. Karim-e-Karbala inquired about those people. A slave told him that there were two such persons in that caravan who were among the well-known persons of Kufa. These two persons were named as Malik bin Nazar al-Arhabi and Zohak bin Abdullah al-Mashriqi. Karim-e-Karbala commanded Hazrat Abdul Rahman al-Arhabi to invite Malik bin Nazar al-Arhabi for Nusra from his side, as he belonged to al-Arhabi tribe, and Abdul Rahman al-Arhabi belonged to the elite class of that tribe. Hazrat Abdul Rahman al-Arhabi is that personality who was one of the big knights of the Arhabi tribe. When the first meeting was held among the elite of Kufa at Suleiman Sard Khazai's home, it was decided that they must not swear allegiance to Yazid, the damned one, and invite Karim-e-Karbala to Kufa. And Hazrat Abdul Rahman al-Arhabi was especially invited to participate in that meeting. When it was decided that all the knights would write letter individually to Karim-e-Karbala, Abdul Rahman al-Arhabi refused to write a letter. Rather, he preferred to go to Karim-e-Karbala to invite him in Kufa. He also accompanied the first messenger, Qais bin Mashar Saidawi, to Makkah. That's why most of the historians have included him among the first messengers. But he went to Karim-e-Karbala not as a messenger, but as a spokesman of his tribe. Not only that, he was also included in the martyrs of Hamla-e-Ula, or first attack, and our Emperor of the age has sent his special greetings to him. This is brief introduction of Hazrat Abdul Rahman al-Arhabi. Karim-e-Karbala directed Abdul Rahman al-Arhabi to go and invite Malik bin Nazar al-Arhabi and Zohak bin Abdullah Mashriqi for Nusra and take both of them to him. When Abdul Rahman al-Arhabi went to them, they welcomed him and asked the reason of his arrival. Abdul Rahman al-Arhabi said to them that Karim-e-Karbala had sent him to them for the invitation of Nusra. They asked if they could be produced before Karim-e-Karbala. Al-Arhabi accompanied them to the Supreme Court of Karim-e-Karbala. As they approached, they could hear the call of Maghrib prayers and participated with him in the prayers. After the prayers, Karim-e-Karbala started sermonizing them. He said to them, if they offer Nusra to him, they will be promised goodness both in religion and in this world. Both of them continued listening to Karim-e-Karbala while bending their heads downwards. Even they did not answer in positive or in negative, but their silence was speaking louder than words and was representing their inner state of mind. Karim-e-Karbala said to them that their silence indicated their unwillingness to do Nusra. He further asked the case of their denial for Nusra. What has prevented you from engaging in our Nusra? Karim-e-Karbala wanted to know some so-called solid reason behind their denial. At that time, Malik bin Nazar al-Arhabi said, O the son of the Holy Prophet, I have got a family and I am also in debt. If I engage myself in your Nusra, I would not be able to run the affairs of my family. My kids are still little and they have not any other caretaker. Additionally, I am under the heavy debt. If I were murdered, my indebtors would upset my family members." On hearing this, Karim-e-Karbala said to them, "If you are upset in this matter, I will pay your debt and also take up the responsibility of your wife and kids, and they would not be poor till the day of judgment. You must offer your nusra by being entirely free from the liabilities of your family." But he replied that he was forced by the circumstances and could not offer nusra. At that time, Hazrat Yazid bin Hussain Mashriqi was sitting in front of Karim-e-Karbala. He glanced at Zahaq bin Abdullah and cursed him, saying that his mother might not weep on his dead body for being silent. As Zahaq perceived that the knight of the tribe was asking him for nusra, he thought it improper to give a flat refusal and answered in a different manner. He said that he would stand by Karim-e-Karbala through thick and thin and even do nusra by sword. Further, he would continue defending Karim-e-Karbala even at the cost of his life. And if he survived in such encounters, he would be considered free from Karim-e-Karbala's allegiance and would not revive it if he felt the danger of Karim-e-Karbala's martyrdom. And after that, whatever he does, Karim-e-Karbala won't have the power to stop him. Karim-e-Karbala said to him, "You will be free from our allegiance." On this condition, Zahaq owed Karim-e-Karbala's allegiance. This very Zahaq bin Abdullah al-Mashriqi used to tell the people his own sinful act regarding the tragedy of Karbala while weeping bitterly. He used to narrate the day of Ashura was not less intense than the day of judgment. Soon after the sunrise, there began a series of sacrifices, and he witnessed that one by one all the companions of Karim-e-Karbala were martyred. He himself actively participated in different encounters and got injured. But he specially observed that there were two such companions of Karim-e-Karbala who shielded him from the attacks of the enemies. Both of them did not separate themselves from Mazloom-e-Karbala even for a single moment without considering whosoever be martyred. These two companions were Hazrat Suwaid bin Umro Abi al-Mutta Khas'ami and Hazrat Bushir bin Umro al-Hizarmi. As he witnessed that all the young men of Banu Hashim were martyred, Zahaq said those very two companions were actively standing on both sides of Karim-e-Karbala and safeguarding him with naked swords in their hands. Here, it is important to note that Bashir bin Umro Hizarmi is the very person who belonged to the area called Hizar Maut and got the news of the arrest of his young son in Karbala. At that time, Mazloom-e-Karbala said to Bashir ibn Umro Hizarmi, "I have withdrawn allegiance from you. You are now free to go and liberate your son by paying indemnity." The emperor of the Iraq quotes the reply of Bashir ibn Umro, who said to Karim-e-Karbala, "O my lord, let the wild animals eat me, tearing into pieces, if I dare leave the son of the Holy Prophet in this state of loneliness just for the sake of liberating of my imprisoned son." After that, Imam-e-Mazloom said to his son, Muhammad bin Bashir, to go with the material things equal to the amount of indemnity and liberate his brother. But he also gave the same answer that he could not dare leave him in that critical situation. He was also included among the martyrs of Karbala. Friends, I was telling you what happened to Zahaq bin Abdullah al-Mashriqi in the battlefield of Karbala. Zahaq narrates that he witnessed that Imam-e-Mazloom was left alone, but he was still being guarded by the two young men with naked swords in their hands. At that time, Zahaq felt that finally Karim-e-Karbala was about to be martyred. He went to Karim-e-Karbala and reminded him his term and condition which he made at the time of owing allegiance to him. As the condition was about to be fulfilled, he was then free from the allegiance and could enjoy complete freedom and move wherever he liked. Imam-e-Mazloom replied with deep regret, "Yes, you are right. Now you are free and you can do whatever you like." At that time, the cruel enemies attacked Imam-e-Mazloom. Zuhaq told the people that both the companions of Karim-e-Karbala were fighting the enemies fearlessly in order to guard Imam-e-Mazloom. At that moment, Zuhaq said he turned to his tent and from there behind the tent jumped on the back of his horse and took to his heels. As he rode speedily, 15 Shami armed horsemen started chasing him. Zuhaq rode more speedily and another town called Shufia, which was situated by Euphrates Canal. As he reached there, he was surrounded by the horsemen who were chasing him. Zuhaq put off his wheel in the presence of those horsemen and implored them to spare his life. As one of the horsemen put off his wheel, Zuhaq recognized him as his childhood friend named Kasir bin Abdullah al-Shami, also accompanied by Ayub bin Mashra al-Hewani and Qais bin Abdullah as-Sadi. Those people recognized him as their cousins. There were also Tamimi people who were also familiar to Zuhaq. They did not hesitate to spare Zuhaq's life, and finally he succeeded in securing his life. Friends, this is again a character in Karbala who conditionally owed allegiance to his Wali-ul-Asr, which ultimately caused the deprivation of bliss, and he had to repent for the rest of his life, but time once slipped away cannot be retrieved. Conclusion. Allegiance to Wali-ul-Asr must be owed unconditionally because conditional allegiance is always prohibitive in real Nusra, and conditional Nusra serves as a disgrace to Nusra because this sacred family offered its unconditional Nusra to its Wali-ul-Ala or the Supreme Being or Allah Almighty, thus giving us a lesson that we must offer our Nusra to our Wali-ul-Asr unconditionally. Both the incidents mentioned above teach us a lesson that nothing must hinder us from offering Nusra even if somebody is in debt or has a family, as Karim-e-Karbala said in Karbala that he was responsible for the families and debts of those offering unconditional Nusra. Similarly, in every age, Wali-ul-Asr holds the responsibility of every person offering Nusra. But we must not even think of holding our Wali-ul-Asr responsible for the protection of our family while offering Nusra. But it is imperative to sacrifice our family for his sake. Why should we ask him to undertake the security of our family? We must suppose that we have sacrificed our family for his sake. Under such supposition, when family does not exist, why we should be worried about them? Just as the sacred family remained irrespective of both this world and the hereafter throughout, especially when offering Nusra for its Wali-ul-Ala Jalla Jalalahu or the Supreme Being, it is imperative on us to be completely irrespective of dire consequences in offering Nusra for our Wali-ul-Asr. We must be determined to offer Nusra for our Wali-ul-Asr even at the cost of our life and family. Not only that, we must be mentally prepared to pay the price of being damned to hell for offering unconditional Nusra to our Wali-ul-Asr. Until or unless we develop such faith and spirit, we will never be able to justify our unconditional offer for Nusra for our Wali-ul-Asr. Let's pray that the above mentioned believers and mourners may be blessed with the grant of Nusra, and all of us may also be consumed in the establishment of the eternal government of our Wali-ul-Asr. Ameen. Ya Rabbul Alameen. Alhamdulillah wa shukr sahib az-zaman. Ajjalallahu farajahu sharif.